Well, hey, what's going on, guys? I am out on an early morning fishing mission here, and today I'm going after some walleyes and some perch, and I'm just dropping my dead stick down here. It's just starting to get light. I see a little light on the horizon out there, and I've got a tip up set up, and we're gonna just jig and dead stick here. And basically where I've set up is kind of a saddle between two humps. So there's two kind of hard topped sunken islands that top out at about 8-9 feet, and then I'm in this saddle that drops down to like 13-14, and I've got a tip up right up in about 11, and then I'm set up in like 16, kind of right where that saddle kind of starts. So I just dropped my dead stick down. I already got a bite. There he is. There's a whole bunch of fish down there, actually. Whole bunch of fish. Look at that. Mr. Perch. That is one of the target species right there. Not quite as big as we're looking for, but I think we'll get some that are. Hopefully we can come across a couple walleyes. I haven't been able to fish a whole lot in kind of the prime time this season yet for walleyes, as far as early in the morning or late in the evening. I've been doing a lot of daytime fishing, so hopefully we can pick a walleye or two off too this morning. But it's a beautiful day. It's like 13 degrees, gonna be sunny again, so I'm looking forward to at least hammering some perch and maybe picking up a couple walleyes too. So there's like 15 perch coming up at my dead stick right now. I'm gonna get a bite here in about 3, 2, 1. Yep, there he is. Got him. Oh, this could be fun. There's a lot of fish down there. I'm on top of them already. So, oh yeah, that's a better one. That's a better one. Right there. We'll eat that one. We're going for a meal today. Maybe we'll do a catch and cook. Maybe a catch, clean, and cook on some perch here, I think, is what we'll do. And there's like 20 perch below my hole right now. So I'm not going to bother with the dead stick, because that is just going to be a waste of time. We're going to start jigging for these things. So since we're talking about perch, I'm going to go over my top 3 perch baits, and I'm going to catch perch on them right now. Number 1, some sort of glide bait. For whatever reason, perch really like glide baits. They like a horizontal presentation a lot of times. It looks like a minnow. If they're eating bait fish, really hard to beat. This is the Eurotackle Z-Darter V2, and that's kind of the medium sized one. And I don't mind fishing bigger lures for perch. It does not bother me at all. If they're hitting it, I'll fish big, because I can fish it faster. I can fish it more efficient. The fish can see it from further away, and they're already on it. Oh, missed one. Yeah, and when there's a bunch of them and they're super aggressive in schools like this, they have absolutely no problem tracking down a bigger bait, and sometimes you can weed out some of those smaller fish. See that? Just smoked it. Just smoked it. Now, one of the reasons I like this Z-Darter V2 is because it's got that swivel on the bottom hook there, and there's no front and rear single hooks. So when you hook a fish on here, that bottom treble can just spin. You don't lose very many fish. The other nice thing about this bait is if you're in an area that's got walleyes and perch both, this is an excellent walleye lure as well. So it's nice to have that bigger profile and something that's going to attract a walleye. Holy cow, they are just screaming in. Bam, immediately. Oh, did I put myself on them this morning? This is pretty sweet. There's another one. That one got the back treble. That one's not quite big enough. We'll let him go. Now I'm fishing this Z-Darter V2 on the St. Croix Tundra medium fast. This is a 30-inch rod. It's a nice fast action. You can work that bait really, really well. And I like a little bit shorter rod for in the shack. And it's got a good backbone in case you do hook a walleye. Oh, there's like 20 perch down there right now. There we go. Got another one. Well, there's a keeper. That's a beaut. That is what we're looking for right there. They're just smoking this thing. I wouldn't have to change baits, but I'm going to show you another one. That's one of my favorite perch baits here in a second. But they are eating that glide bait big time. Alright guys, number 2 is going to be a small rattle bait. This is the Eurotackle Z-Viber, And you guys have seen me fish with this bait for crappies before as well. Again, on aggressive perch, I do not mind fishing a bigger bait, especially a horizontal profile bait. If they're eating bait fish, I stay away from spoons, and I usually fish these horizontal profiles. Here they come again. Just crazy. Crazy. And if they're eating bluegills especially, this bait looks just like a bluegill. Like a baby bluegill, and perch absolutely love baby bluegills, and usually this kind of fatter profile gets them going. Come on, come on. There he is. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, that thing just came in and slammed it. Again, these bigger baits really can kind of give you an opportunity at some of those bigger fish and weed out some of the smaller ones, but that is a nice fatty, good eater. These all are perfect eating size fish. So guys, the Z-Viber is a little bit lighter bait. I'm fishing that on a St. Croix Scandic Ice 28 medium light. It's a little bit lighter rod, but again, it's a shorter rod, which I like to use in the shack so I can sit a little bit closer to my holes. And both of these rods are great, but a little bit lighter bait, I like that. A little bit lighter action, holds fish a little bit better. So now both of these baits, as far as working them for perch, the glide bait and the rattle bait, I'm going to use pretty big rips to get fish coming in, and then I'm going to go to smaller twitches. But then a lot of times for perch, you almost have to let that bait sit still and just barely jiggle it, or even dead stick it, for the perch to come up and hit it. If they're super aggressive, they'll come in and smash it while it's darting around. But a lot of times perch, for whatever reason, don't like to hit a moving bait as much as, say, a predator fish like a walleye or a pike. So I'll often really slow the presentation down after I get those fish coming in to get the actual hit. Now again, I'm not saying you can't catch perch on spoons. I'm just saying, in my experience, I've just had better luck on both glide baits and rattle baits, these horizontal presentations, especially for, you know, bait fish eating perch, and perch that are aggressive. They're schooled up, they're fighting for the bait, and for whatever reason, that horizontal profile just seems to really do well in these situations, as it is today, obviously. It's going to take about 3 seconds to get bit here. Oh, missed him. There he is. I mean, just absolutely insane school of fish here, guys. I am on top of them. I just totally lucked out. I found this spot on Omnia, the Omnia app, and this spot does not exist on Navionics. It does not show these two humps, but the Omnia app has that user data mapping. I use the Omnia app all the time to find new spots, because you can find spots like this that you will not find just from using lake maps. They actually use data from sonar that has gone over this area and mapped bottom hardness and the actual depth. You're not going to have any inaccuracies, and like I said, this spot does not show on Navionics at all. It looks nothing like this. And I just set up on this saddle assuming that fish would be using it to kind of go up and down through this flat and then back out to deep water, and obviously it's working out, because there is a pile of fish here. So check that out. I'll leave a link in the description for the Omnia app. It's a great tool for finding new spots like this. Alright guys, the third bait that you absolutely need for perch anywhere when you're ice fishing is a small tungsten and plastic. So this is the Clam Outdoors confetti drop. It's a little tungsten jig. It's a great little bait, and then I've got it tipped with a plastic. So this is the Euro Tackle Plankton. And for perch, I really like to have something with a lot of legs on it that looks very buggy. If you're not fishing a minnow style bait and you're fishing for those more finicky perch, they're usually eating some sort of bugs. And so I want it to look very buggy, want a lot of legs, a lot of movement in the water, and I want it to look like an insect. So that's kind of what I'm going for with that plastic. Now of course you can use live bait as well if the fish are really finicky, but you're going to be rebaiting more often, and a lot of times for perch it's just not necessary. They're usually just as happy to eat a plastic as a live bait, but there are days when they get really finicky where a spike or a waxy is going to help. But let's drop this down there. I probably don't need this today, but definitely they're going to hit this as well as the big baits. Now you can fish for aggressive fish with this bait it certainly works, but you can't fish it quite as fast. It takes a little bit longer for it to get down there, and it certainly works, but I like to fish those bigger, more aggressive baits if I can, just for the speed. But of course, they are hitting it just fine, and they are engulfing it. So, but some days you just can't catch the perch on aggressive techniques. They're going to be really finicky, and the only way to get them is a tungsten and a live bait. And on some fisheries, most days they're only going to be eating that tungsten and plastic or tungsten and live bait. All right, guys, so I caught a couple on the tungsten, and they definitely have thinned out. I'm going to try this. This has worked well for me in the past, and that's just putting a 1/4 ounce rattle spoon, clam rattle spoon on the bottom, and putting a little tungsten and live bait above it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pound the bottom with this and try and get those fish to come in. Sometimes that racket and that mud kind of getting kicked up will actually bring fish in. Since I haven't seen anything for a while, this is probably a good way to try and get them to come back and check out the area again, kind of keep them around with that mud cloud, and we'll see if we can't get a couple this way. So as you can see, guys, I'm slamming this bait, this spoon, into the bottom right now, and just trying to create as big of a cloud of muck and bubbles and debris as I can to make it look like perch have been kind of feeding in the area and stirring up the mud looking for insects. And it definitely works. I'm guessing this is going to bring in some fish here within a couple minutes. All right, guys, here they come. They are back. They're back. There's one. Bam. Jeez, yeah, there we go. See that? Hit that little jig above the spoon, pounding the bottom, and bringing those fish in, kicking up a bunch of muck. And sure enough, oh, here they come. There's a pile now. And now here's the beauty of this. I can drop this thing down so fast on that 1/4 ounce spoon. Pow, hit the bottom. Just start raising it up a little bit now. Oh, bam, fish on just like that. And they'll hit either bait. That one also hit the top bait, the little guy. But you can definitely catch fish on that spoon too if they're really aggressive. That one was a little small, but we'll dump this down there again. And this is why when the fish are really aggressive, I do like to use a bigger bait, because a lot of times those schools will be mixed. You'll have some small fish in with the bigger fish, and when you're using those bigger jigs and horizontal baits, a lot of times you're going to eliminate a lot of those smaller fish. There's another one. That one actually hit the spoon. That one's a little bit bigger. That's a keeper. You hit that little clam rattle spoon with the glow eye on it. So, case in point. Now, you do have to be aware that in certain states, if you have 2 lures on your line, that is considered the second line. So, like here in Wisconsin, I had that dead stick in, I pulled it, I only have 1 tip up out, I can have 3 lines total. So I'm using up my 3 lines right now by having 1 tip up out there and this line down there. Definitely can't have 2 tip ups out as well as these 2 hooks on the line. So just keep that in mind. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the only really methods you need to catch perch almost anywhere. Again, if you can, use those horizontal baits. It's fast, it's fun. The fish are hammering. It's a great way to go. If you've got to downsize and get those finicky fish to bite, go with the tungsten and the plastic or live bait. And then if you need to call fish in on those mud flats, this is a great way to do it with this big heavy spoon and that little bait above it. Well, I was able to call in a few more fish by pounding the bottom, but they were moving really fast, and I was able to just grab a couple. 1 more school came through, and now I just haven't seen anything at all for a while. So I'm guessing that the perch have probably moved off of the saddle and they've pushed back out onto the flat in that basin. So we're probably gonna have to do a little hole hopping now to see if we can't find them again and get on them again out there. And we're gonna drill some holes, drop the Vex down, see if we can't get on a few more here. All right, guys, so when I'm running and gunning and hole hopping for perch, I usually am going to drop in every hole. The reason being that perch often sit close to bottom, so you're not always going to see them just by dropping your flasher in. And a lot of times they'll also shoot in on the bait. They might be sitting a little ways away, but they see that bait coming down and they'll shoot over and investigate it. So usually, rather than just hole hopping and looking for fish, I'll actually drop down, give it a few jigs with something big like that Z darter and see if anything moves in on the bait, and then I'll just keep moving along. So I'll give it maybe a minute with this bait, and then I'll just head to the next hole here. Well guys, I did some hole hopping, found a few more small fish, but nothing crazy. So we had an awesome morning this morning. Just crushed the perch one after another. There was schools coming through, but they've just kind of vanished. So luckily we got about a dozen perch, which is perfect for dinner. And I'm going to show you my favorite method for cleaning and filleting these fish, and then one of my favorite ways to cook them. So let's head back home and get to cleaning. All right guys, we're back at the fillet table. I got my fish all bled out. They're in the sink right now. And I'm going to show you just on one fish exactly how I typically fillet a yellow perch. It's a really easy method. If I've just got a meal's worth of perch to fillet, I'm not going to bother with the electric. I'm going to use my conventional knife, and I'll show you how I would just fillet a meal of perch. Now, if I'm going to do a pile of them, I might do the electric, but today we're going to just do the conventional, and then we'll take them inside and we're going to cook some dinner. All right guys, for this method, I'm going to be using my Rattle Fish and Fillet Superflex knife. I really like this knife. It's got the classic Rattle feel to it, but it's got that coated blade on it. Slides through the fish really nicely. And I'm just going to do this kind of the way I've always done it. This is how my dad taught me to do it. This is just how we've always cleaned panfish, and it works really well. I'll leave a link below if you want to see a couple other ways to fillet perch. I've got more videos on that, but including the electric. But in this one, we're just going to zip through it with this conventional knife. So with perch, you got a little bit tougher scales than you do on any other panfish, and you kind of have to use the butt of the knife to really saw through those scales. We just pop through them pretty easily there, but if you use the butt of the knife, it tends to cut through a little bit better. So we're just going to make our angle cut right there, get back towards the tip of the knife and just turn that knife, and we're just going to be following this ridge here along the spine, just cutting down in about a ½ an inch or so till we get past the ribs. The ribs end about right here, and then we're going to push all the way through, and we're just going to take off that whole tail section. Now we're going to flip our knife around, and we're going to come back and follow these bones back to the spine. See how we're taking off that meat? Now we got ribs right here. We're just going to go up and over them like so, cutting through the pin bones. And now we're going to angle our knife down and go all the way through like that. Now we'll just remove the fillet at the belly right there. So now we've got a nice clean fillet. We're just going to move it to the edge of the table here. I like to just pinch it there with my finger, make a initial cut there, and then we're just going to let that knife kind of glide across the skin and remove the meat from the skin like so. And now, if you want to, on a fish this size, it really doesn't matter because the pin bones will cook out, but on a bigger fish, if you want to, you can remove those pin bones. You can feel them with your finger. They're kind of prickly. Just cut on one side and then the other and take that little strip of bones out. They end about right where you push your knife through and cut that fillet off. So there we go. There's one nice looking perch fillet. Now we're gonna flip the fish around this way. And this is just how I do it. Some people do it this direction. This is how I've learned, and this is how I always do it this way. I flip it the other direction so the belly's still away from me. And I'm gonna make that initial cut again. Sometimes this belly will stick and you'll have to kind of turn your knife and pop through it. On this one, it actually cut right through. So now I'm gonna grab the head again, make that turn with my knife point, just in a 1/4 inch to ½ an inch or so, till we get to right at the front of that anal fin. Pop through, just like that, and then we're just gonna take that right out. Now we're gonna turn our knife and come back and just start removing that fillet from the ribs. And usually the whole belly comes with this piece on the second piece, which is fine. We're just gonna cut that right off. So I just turn it cut it wherever I want it to be, just like that. Now we bring it to the edge of the table and just take that skin off. Just like so. And again, like I said, these aren't huge perch. I'm not too worried about these pin bones because I'm going to fry these and they're going to cook right out. But if you want to do that on bigger perch, it's a good idea just to get those pin bones out. But there you have it, guys. That's how I fillet a dinner of perch. All right, guys, it's the next morning. My family's still sleeping right now. We didn't eat fish last night. When you have kids, your plans change all the time, and that's what happened last night. So I'm making fish for breakfast. Now I know what you're thinking, fish for breakfast? Who eats fish for breakfast? I discovered fried fish and over easy eggs a few years back, and it's one of my favorite breakfasts. So I'll show you how to bread them up, how I fry them for breakfast, and then how I eat them with the fried eggs and tartar sauce, and it is absolutely amazing. So I'm keeping my voice a little low, like I said, because my family's still sleeping, but let's get them breaded up and get them in the pan. All right, guys, when I'm doing fish for breakfast, I like to have a little bit lighter wash. So I do about 50% egg, 50% water, and that lightens up the wash a little bit. So I'm just gonna crack 2 eggs and then stir that water in and kind of mix them up, beat them up. And that's what we're gonna wash the fillets in before we dip them in the breading. So we're gonna use the catch and cook spicy coating for this, and for breakfast I like it a little bit lighter again, so I'm going to cut this by about half with flour, and we're going to do 50-50 of the spicy and some flour. All right, while we're breading the fish, I'm going to get the oil hot here. I'm just using canola oil, pouring about 1/4 inch in the cast iron pan here. I like cast iron for frying if I can because it holds the heat better, so when you drop the fish in, it doesn't cool the temp as fast. All right, so basically I just lay my fish out after I rinse it, just dab off any extra water, and then we're gonna just grab one at a time, grab a fillet, dip it in the egg wash, lay it in the breading, roll it around a little bit, pat it in, and there's a nice light spicy breading on there. Now I'm just doing enough for about 1 pan of fish. I'm gonna save the rest for later. Obviously I'm not gonna eat 12 perch for breakfast, so I'll often use a meat thermometer to check my oil, and we're at 343 right now, so we're almost to where we want to be here. We want to be at about 370 or so. Yeah, towards the middle of the pan we're there, so we're gonna drop them in. Just lay them in nicely like so. Leave a little room between them. But you can stack them in there pretty good though. Especially in a cast iron pan like this where you're not going to lose your heat. Got the oil heating for the eggs, which we'll drop in next. All right, let's crack a few eggs. I'm going to do 3 this morning. All right, let's check these. Yeah, they're looking good. Just a couple minutes on each side. There we go, we'll flip them right there. This catch and cook spicy is so good. I'll leave a link down in the description for this stuff. I've been using it for about a year now, and it is delicious. Well, I broke a yolk on one, but I still got 2 that are good. I like a nice over easy fried egg for this, and I don't like to get them too well done. I like that yolk to kind of mix in with the tartar sauce. So fish is just about done here. We can take this fish off. Just let it drain for a second. That's why I like the cast iron, because you get a nice even cook on that fish. Whereas with steel, you're going to cool the pan down a lot and you'll get uneven sides on them. So let those cool down a little bit on the paper towel. And our egg should be just about done over here. There we go. plate up our fish, our eggs, and right in the middle, this is the best part of the whole thing. Whatever your favorite tartar sauce is, I haven't tried this kind yet, but it looks pretty good, so I bought it, and plop that in the middle. Now we're talking. Now that's a breakfast. Now let me show you the proper way to eat this. Cut into that over easy egg, get a bunch of that yolk on there, grab yourself a piece of fish, piece of the egg, dip it in that tartar sauce, and that's your bite right there. So that's really it. Just the combination of that tartar sauce, the over easy egg, and the perch is such a good breakfast. You've got to try it. It's absolutely delicious. If you like this catch and cook, make sure you leave a comment down below, because I do like making these catch and cook videos, and I haven't done a ton of them. So make sure you let me know in the comments if you like this video and if you'd like to see more like it. So also subscribe to the channel. Got a lot more videos coming up soon. So we'll see you in the next one. Get hooked up.